Dr. Bill, would you like to give your report?
Well, the first one is not on the list here because I just read it last night, but it's probably one of the most important pieces of medical progress in our lifetime. A group in 3 nations has worked together and they have found a way to reverse the lesions of Alzheimer's disease. For years, we've been told we can diagnose it sooner, we can slow it down, blah, 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 blah. Now they think they've got a technique to make it go away, if you're a rat. Oh, and that's why I'm hoping that some of the congressmen will come forward.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the actual report. The first one is only medical in a sort of peripheral sense. A group at MIT has found a way to turn concrete into an energy storage facility so that your house, your walls, your sidewalk, everything can be storing energy. And this is going to lead to a much better organized world. Number 2, a recommendation that you take water, coffee, and tea. The water is first, coffee and tea in the dimension 2 to 3, and that if you do this daily, this will have an impact on your longevity. Very, very important. There was 132,000 patients in the study followed for 13 years, and they had a 28% decrease in death rate, which is not nothing by my standards. Mm-hmm. Okay, the next one was actually in the AARP news, a recommendation that you should eat your food in a certain order. Normally, when people sit down, they dive into the potatoes or the corn or the sweets. They're saying, get your veggies first, get your carbs last, and slip a little protein in the middle. This will prevent glucose spikes, which has effect all around your health care.
Did you say that in veggies, protein, then carbs?
Mm-hmm. I said that.
I got it right. Okay.
Carbs are last. You might not even need the carbs by the time you've done all this other stuff. But if AARP says to do it, you got to do it. Next one, really miraculous application of AI to design a virus which can selectively kill antibiotic resistant bacteria. You know, we've been struggling to find treatments for bacteria that are like that. Now they figured out how to make a virus that you deliberately infect in there, and then the bacteria is stuck. It can't do its thing. And this was done at Stanford and published in Nature. The template virus, which they started with, was called X174. I want you to remember that. I know this is the kind of thing you like to take home with you. And from that point on, the AI brought up a possibility of thousands of sequences which were tested. 302 had visible bacteriophage capabilities, and 16 showed specificity for the bacteria. So it was a lot of work, but it's a sort of a miraculous thing. Next one is called zapping food waste. Normally, we throw our food in the garbage can, it goes out in the dump, it rots in nature, and it spoils the environment. But this University of Ohio team found out that if they zapped food waste with electricity, particularly in the presence of a certain bacterium, that they could actually turn it into valuable chemicals. And this is a better way to handle the overflow. Am I on my 10-minute schedule?
Yep, you're doing good.
Okay. Next one is the finding of circular DNA. Circular DNA. This is DNA which is in little teeny circles apart from the chromosome. You see the chromosome there? It's in this sort of X shape, and the little circles. Those are the findings that were the subject of this study done by Dr. Dr. Paul Michel, and he's another Stanford guy. I'm sorry to have to say that. But he is convinced that this has some role in cancer. This was first observed in the 1960s. They couldn't figure out what to make out of it, so they pretended it wasn't there. It's not in any of your textbooks. But in the tumor cells, there are swarms of these little circular DNAs. What's in them? Various things. It moves around. It sort of kisses the chromosome that goes off on its own. And you can see it's stained in two different stain patterns there. So that's a real thing, and he decided it's time to stop ignoring this. Whatever it is, it's got to be something of importance. And he has the idea that somehow this is the beginning of a meaningful approach to curing cancer. And he has to admit that after 20 years of study, he hasn't quite put his finger on it, but he's keeping on trying. Okay, the next one is a genius bioengineering stunt. His finger. There's nothing immoral about putting your finger on it. So you see that mouse there? They gave him a spinal injury, but he's up and walking. And yeah, this is good for everybody in the room. So what they did was they came up with a scaffold device with little micro pores in it, and they filled the pores with stem cells, which are appropriate to introduce. They put the scaffold over the wound. The stem cells travel through the scaffold. They click onto neurons on either side, and they heal the lesion. Mm. And this was done in combination of Intel and University of Minnesota. So this is advanced healthcare, 3D printed scaffold. And again, if you're a rat, you have a spinal injury, you're in good shape now. Give him a reference so he can come and get this early. Next one is MIT study, 3,000 British adults, timing of meals. So normally, particularly as you get older, you eat breakfast later and later. That's not a good thing to do. So what they're saying is eat breakfast from 7 to 8, eat lunch from noon to 1, and dinner from 5 to 7. This has a favorable effect on your mortality. Also helps with depression, fatigue, and general health. Number 9, new creation. This is the most creative one of all. A ghost organ. That was in the study, but I don't really see why that's a ghost organ. But anyway, the idea is that there are some 7,000 people. Mm. There's 20,000 people waiting in line to get their transplant, and they can't all make it in time. So about 17 die every day. And over the course of a year, that's a lot of people. And they're lost. There's nothing they can do about it right now. So the concept here was maybe we can create something to serve in lieu of the transplant while you're waiting, and then you can wait indefinite periods of time, take some of the heat off. So they developed this ghost organ concept where they take an organ comparable to the one that needs the transplant from a pig, The pigs didn't volunteer for this, but they are the donors. And they clean it out. In other words, they take out all the cells and the biostructures, leaving only the connective tissue framework. And then they repopulate that with cells from the recipient, stem cells. There are various ways to harvest stem cells. And this was done by a company called Miramatrix Medical. Unlike many of the things I talk about, clinical trials are underway. It seems to be working. The idea is that the repopulated ghost organ is functional, and you can feed blood through it and then pass it on to the waiting recipient. So they've done it with liver and with heart. And this is going to have a big effect on our lives, all of our lives. And finally, this is one where we're going to change the mood a little bit, particularly in the end. So stay attentive, please. They figured out a way where they can take a woman's skin and brush her skin off, and some skin cells come off. They can then be inserted into an egg from her ovary. The egg has previously been depopulated. There's no nucleus left in there, but the skin cell nucleus is in a better condition to support life. It doesn't have the fault that the woman's original ovary had, which was preventing her from getting pregnant. So you put in the skin cell and you undergo a process called mitomeiosis, where you down the chromosome number back to the half segment, which is required to meet up with the sperm. So that's the story in the press, but now I'm going to tell you something. There was a guy who was knowledgeable about that. He was doing a lot of reading. He was out for dinner with his wife, and they had a nice meal. Then they went out for a walk. Then they went home and they listened to some music. And then she said, "Dear, we're going to make love tonight, aren't we?" And he said, and she said, "No, really, I want to know, are we going to have sex tonight?" He said, "Well," she said, "I'm putting my foot down. We need to have the spirit of warmth, this togetherness. And then it's a pathway to a future with another generation." And he looked straight in her eyes, but he had this faraway look in his eyes, and he said, "Ma'am, I'm just going to brush you off."
Grown.
Should I meet him?
Yeah.
Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. I want to go back to that virus that helps with the antibacterial virus eaters or whatever they are.
Eats the garbage.
Yeah.
No, that's a different one. This is
Oh.
the
Is that something that's happening now?
no.
So the
That'd probably be 10 years.
Oh, wow.
okay, all right.
But it's a
But-
huge biological
Oh, that's
undertaking.
Alzheimer's. Not Alzheimer's.
No, what do you call it? The
The
shot?
plaques. The
What's that?
plaques that you get with Alzheimer's.
No, I'm talking about something different.
No, this is the one with antibacterial resistance.
Right.
Okay, so that one is about 10 years down the road. The bacteria designs something that can fight bacteria-resistant antibiotics, so the antibiotics work again.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is
Good.
very ingenious, but it's going to take some time, because imagine what happens if you do the mitomeiosis and you get 25 chromosomes instead of 26. You end up with kind of a weirdo.
Mhm.
So again, it's
And I
work,
have-
but it's a beautiful idea and it's underway. And it's a new application of AI. You haven't heard anything like that yet.
And
There's
I have
Georgia.
another question. The scaffolding that you were talking about, is that internal or external?
That's internal.
Internal,
You have to put it over the wound.
okay.
3D printed, put it over the wound, introduce the neural stem cells. I see a hand up.
That could be,
Go ahead.
Finish answering the question.
Go ahead. Nancy.
I wondered why they used a ghost organ, like pig organ, to do the creating a new organ out of the patient's cells, when there's the 3D printing that they can make organs. Actually read that they've used 3D printing to make a heart that actually beat.
wow.
That was some couple of years ago I read about that.
Well, tell them to do it differently.
Yeah.
That way they don't have to bother to put all piggies.
Your job to correct them.
Yeah.
This is actually using living tissue.
Well, that's,
So artificial heart's not living tissue.
And then connective tissue is just the scaffolding. And then they introduce stem cells from the patient, and the stem cells glom onto the scaffolding and grow a new organ. That was the way I understood what you're saying.
they'll say.
Right, very good, thank you.
Do we have another question for Dr. Bill? Thank you, Dr. Bill. Those are all really interesting summaries.
Please.